All right, so welcome to step 3. So we are going to go ahead and create our campaign now. But I want to just give you some examples of ad copy just so you can kind of get an idea of what you can be doing for your campaign. And as you can see, we take advantage of optimization rules and so we can monitor our targets and sources. And when it comes to the creatives, we like to keep it pretty direct. So we sometimes use branding, and then also we let them know that they won something. And also we may go along the lines that they missed a call because we're targeting mobile devices, and we may show the actual gift card. So there you can see how we're testing different options. We're testing emojis, we're testing icons, we're testing different variations of companies. And you see how here we're doing a simple icon that got a lot of conversions, right? And then also we have this simple icon, which is something that we wanted to see if it would work. So out of all of them, the one that performed the best is the one that was probably in a local area that was more, I'd say, had more authority and a higher trust factor, right? So those are the kind of things that we kind of look into. And then you can kind of see the ad copy that we were using. We were kind of saying, you won, let us know where to send it, because it's relative to being with the post office and or missed call. Where do we ship your order? Congrats, you won. We let them know what they won, and we state the dollar amount in the ad copy. That's extremely important. So I'll show you another one. Let's go into our archive folder. Just to give you an idea of some different approaches that we would take. So in this rule-based optimization, it's different. We're going by clicks in comparison to our eCPA. And then here our creatives were very simple, kind of mobile targeting. As you can see, it's translated. We're just telling them that they missed an email, they won a €500 gift card. As you can see, the email angle was something that we wanted to test and kind of roll with, and then we wanted to split test the variables for messaging, so that was helpful. And then here, as you can see, we kept the variables very simple, where in the first campaign there were a lot of ad copy variations that were being tested, which were performing really good. But here we did not test the ad copy. We decided to narrow it down to figure out which creative was the best one, and we figured out it was this one. So those are the kind of things that you will be doing as you accumulate data in your campaigns to figure out how your performance is going to go. So let's go ahead and set it up. So you want to choose your traffic type first. You'll have to go to push, and then you'll have to do your targeting option. Now, we're not going to do target or source because that means that we're going to be creating a whitelist campaign, which is good. We're just not going to do it for this example. But to get your targets or source, you're going to want to run a run on the network campaign to see if you can get any good sources or targets during the meantime. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do RON because that means we're going to be buying all the data, and even if there is going to be a new source, then we will get data from that. Now, we need to start thinking about how to set this up to make sure our click-through rates are sufficient. So we want to go ahead and make sure we get our campaign structure good to go so we know what we're doing. So this is iPhone sweeps, right? That's what we're going to stick with, and we're going in New Zealand. So we got to get everything up to par. Set up our geo-targeting. We're going to do by country. We're going to do, you can do English, you can narrow it down. We're just going to do all languages. There's no need to optimize languages. And here's our suggested bid. So I usually go with the suggested bid just to get an idea of how I will do with the placements when it comes to the win percentages. And then I always set a daily and a campaign budget. So we'll just do 20. And let's say I want to run this for 3 days. Sorry, if I can add, we'll do $60. Now you can also do a sources daily budget. I recommend using rule-based optimization, but you can limit your sources. So let's say you don't want to go over $5 a source. You can do that. That's not a problem. And then I'm just going to do unlimited though. And then here we have the traffic filters where if you want to run desktop, you can. Now, if you ever do have a vertical where you are able to promote on desktop and the performance is sufficient to where we recommend that you go for it, then you have to run those campaigns separately. You never want to run a mobile and a desktop campaign in the same campaign on a push traffic source, because the engagement and the user activity is totally different. So you just don't want to do that to yourself. And then also you have mobile only. So obviously we're going to go for mobile only. And then when you expand the advanced options, we won't have the desktop because we're not targeting desktop, which is okay. But you can go for tablet and you can modify the versions if you want. And you can also modify the versions for the Android phone if you want to do that. You can also look into whether or not you want to just do Wi-Fi traffic, if you want to do carrier only, or if there happens to be a particular carrier that you would like to target, you can do that here. Now, we don't recommend going into eliminating one or the other network sources just yet until you run your campaign. So next, we need to look at frequency filters. So these filters are going to be how many times your ad is displayed per impression for your publisher supply. So if you have an ad that's displayed once, you're going to run it 24 hours. If you want it displayed twice a day, you're going to run it every 12 hours, and then likewise. So then you also need to narrow down filtering, because you are able to run adult push campaigns, so you want to make sure you have that set up. Day parting is extremely important. Highly recommended that you utilize this. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up in the right time zone for Singapore. So you should not be promoting when it's a time that it doesn't make sense. So people are probably not up looking at ads around this time. They're probably doing something else. Maybe it's a weekday and they're probably at work. So maybe I don't like to promote at 10 a.m. on the weekdays. That's something that you have to look at in your data to determine, but it's also helpful. Now here's the fun part where we get to add the creatives. Let's go ahead and do that now. So the icons have to be 192 by 192 pixels, and then we have to stay within the character limits for that. So before we dive actually into that, let's go ahead and get the destination URL in here so we don't lose that. So as you can see, conversion tracking is all good to go because everything is going to be integrated and imported directly into volume. And we are running sweepstakes. We're going to choose that for the team. We are not using pre-landers. We're direct linking. And we're going to pause this. I don't want this to run. All right, cool. So if you ever need any help, you can go to the push guidelines here. So let's dive into the creatives. So let me pull up my icons. One moment, please. Okay, so here we have, here we have the icons that we can use. So I have a post office one that I'll go ahead and select, and it'll be drafted here. And then you can see your example over here, so you can check how it's displayed. So if it's going to be mobile, this is how it'll look. And if we were running desktop, this is how it will look. So for example, remember we said you missed our call, you missed our message. So let's see here. Sometimes we can say order is ready, maybe. I probably should put the brand a little sooner so they can see it. So confirm iPhone 11. There you go. So you can see that. All right, so that's pretty much what you would do. So if you would like to test more, then you just need to add more images. As you can see, it's keeping count, so you can do up to 10. So that is going to be a basic example of how you would set up your campaign. So next we need to talk about scaling and optimizing in your bid, and pretty much my bid here. So this is going to be based on a 3-day rule. So I am going in with a testing strategy where I want to buy as much traffic as I can, but I don't want to go in and spend a lot of money up front, right? But honestly, this really isn't enough. I recommend going in at least $50 a day when you're testing, And then you can still run your campaign for 3 days. That's not a problem. So going in with a higher campaign budget is totally recommended because you're going to be able to get so much data and so many clicks for a very good rate, because you don't have to go for 9 cents a click. If you want to go for 5 cents, so be it. It's just you have to have a highly optimized campaign because you're going to need to win those bid placements, and someone is going to outbid you if they're bidding a higher bid for that particular geo. And we're also going for New Zealand. New Zealand's not actually the cheapest, right? So that's something to also consider whenever you're choosing your offer and when you're choosing your geographical region that you want to promote. And then the next thing that you'll have to kind of look into is, since you're using Zeropark, this is an expansive and massive database. So if you're going to go in with a low budget, you can't buy all the traffic. You can't buy all of the connections, and you cannot buy all the operating systems. You just cannot do that. So that's going to be my ninja tip for you today, is to make sure that you are modifying your operating systems and your versions in accordance to your campaign data, so that you are optimizing your ad spend as well, and not just your landing pages when you have one, and not just your push notifications when you make them. So good luck with everything, and let us know if you have any questions. At some point, you're going to need to optimize your campaign and keep track of your results. So let's go ahead and pull up, we'll do this one. So this is a particular campaign where we were targeting a cellular device. Let's see if I can find a this is good. We'll just look at this one. And so this campaign, we're going to look at the data. So we're going to go to the report. And this is how you want to optimize your campaign once you start getting traffic. You're going to have to review where your traffic is coming from in order to determine whether or not you have low performing sources and targets. And you can also look at other targeting features like the operating system and things of that nature. So let me go ahead and just say, oh, not last year. We meant to do this year. All right, so this isn't technically a great one, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand on the source and apply that for you. And what we would do is look at how many impressions we have and kind of go by our profits. So this is what your campaign would sometimes look like in the beginning stages whenever you're running a series of tests and trying to get to know the traffic source. So the fact that you're seeing all red is just part of the testing process. We do want to make sure that we reiterate that to you. So like, this is the first version, just so you know. All right, now when we're going through the sources, we like to look at how much it's costing, set it up that way so we can identify what we want to do. So therefore, here are where we're making profit, and we can either try to scale these sources and make sure we use those. And then the ones that are costing us, where we're not making any profit, well, we need to look into whether or not we want to pause those. So we're not getting a lot of visits. As you can see, this campaign really was not getting any significant data in the first couple of days. So what you want to consider is going to be your unique visits, your conversions, your revenue, and your costs, and your profit. And then you're also going to want to make sure your ACPA is where you want it to be for your estimated cost per acquisition, which is usually for us always under or equal to our payout, so that we know what's going on. So you can use volume, the guide that we have, so you can know how to maneuver around. So here are going to be the sources. Now, if I want to know what websites are responsible for any particular activity, then we would look at the targets, and we would get that information, and then we can take that back into volume, and we can look and see what we want to do with the conversions that we're seeing. So again, this is early in the stages, but as you can see, now we can tell what websites are performing the best. Now from these websites, maybe we want to know what time of the day our users were engaging with us, maybe if there's a particular internet service provider or a carrier. And all of this information is available to you easily because Zeropark is integrated into Volume, so they have no issue passing back the details that you're looking for in order to optimize your campaign. So now if I wait for that to expand, you can see that Singtel and M1 Limited should be what our focus should be on. So if we're ready to optimize our campaign, then we probably should run a Singtel mobile campaign and test it against M1 Limited. So this information is vital, and this is kind of the thought process that you have to put yourself through in order to see what more can you do in order to maximize your profits. Is there a different lander that you can go ahead and test? We've shown you how to host your landers and the tools that you can use in order to set that up. Is there a particular connection type that you need to be paying more attention to? So little details like this are what are going to help you maximize your ROI. The 3-day rule, usually we look at this information and what we determine is if by some amount of time, after at least 100 clicks per source, I would say, no, let's go with this, at least 100 clicks per target and at least 200 clicks per source. I will go with that for Zeropark since the volume is pretty high. And if we have spent at least 3x or 3 times our payout, then it's time to go ahead and let that go. So that's usually what we go through whenever we look at our costs. We just automatically see, okay, well, is it costing us our payout? Yeah, it's a little bit, because our average payout in this example ends up being €1.85, right? So, or something like that. So if we're making profit and it's costing us, then we're good. But if it's costing us where we're paying and we're not making any profit, then we don't want that. So that's kind of what we keep an eye on. And then overall, over the 3-day period, we want to make sure that we're able to achieve at least getting 10 conversions a day. If we know we can get at least 10 conversions a day, we know we can optimize and kind of figure out where our 1% is, maximize that, and just kind of drill in and dial in on where we need to optimize based on the data and volume and go from there. So this is the beginning of your quick start guide. There is so much more you have to do, but let us know if you have any questions, and I hope you learned something.